Hey everyone, today we did another video earlier today, but now we are reading Leviticus chapters 13 to 20. It's 8 chapters, so let's get right into it. The Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron, saying, When a man shall have in the skin of his flesh a rising, a scab, or bright spot, and it be in the skin of his flesh like the plague of leprosy, then he shall be brought unto Aaron the priest, or unto one of his sons the priest. And the priest shall look on the plague in the skin of the flesh, and when the hair in the plague is turned white, and the plague in sight be deeper than the skin of his flesh, it is a plague of leprosy. And the priest shall look on him and pronounce him unclean. If the bright spot be white in the skin of his flesh, and in sight be not deeper than the skin, and the hair thereof be not turned right, then the priest shall shut up him that hath the plague 7 days. And the priest shall look on him the 7th day, and behold, if the plague in his sight be at a stay, and the plague spread not in the skin, then the priest shall shut him up 7 days more. And the priest shall look on him again the 7th day. Behold, if the plague be somewhat dark, and the plague spread not in the skin, the priest shall pronounce him clean. It is but a scab, and he shall wash his clothes and be clean. But the scab spread much abroad in the skin, after that he hath been seen of the priest for his cleansing, he shall be seen of the priest again. And if the priest see that, behold, the scab spreadeth in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a leprosy. When the plague of leprosy is in a man, then he shall be brought unto the priest, and the priest shall see him, and behold, if the rising be white in the skin, and if have turned the hair white, there be quick raw flesh in the rising. It is an old leprosy in the skin of his flesh, and the priest shall pronounce him unclean, and shall not shut him up, for he is unclean. And if a leprosy break out abroad in the skin, and the leprosy cover all the skin of him that hath the plague from his head even to his foot, wheresoever the priest looketh, then the priest shall consider, and behold, if the leprosy hath covered all his flesh, he shall pronounce him clean, that hath the plague. It is all turned white, he is clean. But when raw flesh appeareth in him, he shall be unclean, and the priest shall see the raw flesh, and pronounce him to be unclean. For the raw flesh is unclean, it is a leprosy. Or if the raw flesh turn again and be changed unto white, he shall come unto the priest, and the priest shall see him. And behold, if the plague be turned into white, then the priest shall pronounce him clean, that he that hath the plague, he is clean. The flesh also, in which even in the skin there was a boil, and is healed, and in the place of the boil there be a white rising, or a bright spot, white and somewhat reddish, and it be shewed to the priest. And if, when the priest seeth it, behold, it be in sight lower than the skin, and the hair thereof be turned white, the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a plague of leprosy broken out of the boil. But if the priest look on it, and behold, there be no white hairs therein, and if it be not lower than the skin, but be somewhat dark, then the priest shall shut him up 7 days. And if it spread much abroad in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a plague. But if the bright spot stay in his place and spread not, it is a burning boil, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. Or if there be any flesh in the skin, whereof there is a hot burning, and the quick flesh that burneth have a white bright spot, somewhat reddish or white, then the priest shall look upon it, and behold, if the hair in the bright spot be turned white, and it be in sight deeper than the skin, it is a leprosy broken out of the burning, wherefore the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is the plague of leprosy. That the priest look on it, and behold, there be no white hair in the bright spot, and it be no lower than the other skin, but be somewhat dark, then the priest shall shut him up 7 days. And the priest shall look upon him the 7th day, and if it be spread much abroad in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is the plague of leprosy. And if the bright spot stay in his place, and spread not in the skin, but it be somewhat dark, it is a rising of the burning, and the priest shall pronounce him clean, for it is an inflammation of the burning. If a man or woman have a plague upon the head or the beard, then the priest shall see the plague, and behold, if it be in sight deeper than the skin, and there be in it a yellow thin hair, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a dry scall, even a leprosy upon the head or beard. And if the priest look on the plague of the scall, and behold, it be not in sight deeper than the skin, and that there is no black hair in it, then the priest shall shut him up that hath the plague of the scall 7 days. And in the 7th day the priest shall look on the plague, and behold, if the scall spread not, and there be in it no yellow hair, and the scall be not in sight deeper than the skin, he shall be shaven, but the skull shall he not shave, and the priest shall shut up him that hath the skull 7 days more. And in the 7th day the priest shall look on the skull, and behold, if the skull be not spread in the skin, nor be in sight deeper than the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him clean, and he shall wash his clothes and be clean. But if the skull spread much in the skin after his cleansing, then the priest shall look on him, and behold, if the skull be spread in the yellow skin, the priest shall not seek for yellow hair, he is unclean. But if the skull be in his sight at a stay, and that there is a black hair grown up therein, the skull is healed, he is clean, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. If a man also, or a woman, have in the skin of their flesh bright spots, even white bright spots, then the priest shall look, behold, if the bright spots in the skin of their flesh be darkish white, it is a freckled spot that groweth in the skin, he is clean. And the man whose hair is fallen off his head, he is bald, yet is he clean? And he that hath his hair fallen off from the part of his head toward his face, he is forehead bald, yet is he clean. And if there be in the bald head or bald forehead a white reddish sore, it is a leprosy sprung up in his bald head or his bald forehead. Then the priest shall look upon it, and behold, if the rising of the sore be white reddish in his bald head, or in his bald forehead, as the leprosy appeareth in the skin of the flesh, he is a leprous man, he is unclean. The priest shall pronounce him utterly unclean, his plague is in his head. And the leper in whom the plague is, his clothes shall be rent, and his head bare, and he shall put a covering upon his upper lip, and shall cry, Unclean, unclean. All the days wherein the plague shall be in him, he shall be defiled. He is unclean, he shall dwell alone, without the camp shall his habitation be. A little brutal. But who am I to question? The garment also that the plague of leprosy is in, whether it be a woolen garment or a linen garment, whether it be in the warp or woof of linen or of woolen, whether in a skin or in anything made of skin, and if the plague be greenish or reddish in the garment, or in the skin, either in the warp or in the woof, or in anything of skin, it is a plague of leprosy, and shall be shewed unto the priest. And the priest shall look upon the plague, and shut up it that hath the plague several days. And he shall look on the plague on the 7th day. If the plague be spread in the garment, either in the warp, or in the woof, or in a skin, or in any work that is made of skin, the plague is a fretting leprosy. It is unclean. He shall therefore burn that garment, whether warp or woof, in woolen, or in linen, or in anything of skin, wherein the plague is, for it is a fretting leprosy. It shall be burnt in the fire. And if the priest shall look, and behold the plague be not spread in the garment, either in the warp or in the woof, or in anything of skin, then the priest shall command that they wash the thing wherein the plague is, and he shall shut it up 7 more days. And the priest shall look on the plague after that it is washed, and behold, if the plague have not changed its color, and the plague be not spread, it is unclean. Thou shalt burn it in the fire. It is fret inward, whether it be bare within or without. And if the priest look, and behold the plague be somewhat dark after the washing of it, then he shall rend it out of the garment, or out of the skin, or out of the warp, or out of the woof. And if it appear still in the garment, either in the warp, or in the woof, or in anything of skin, it is a spreading plague. Thou shalt burn that wherein the plague is with fire. And the garment, either warp or woof, or whatsoever thing of skin it be, which thou shalt wash, if the plague be departed from them, then it shall be washed the 2nd time, and shall be clean. This is the law of the plague of leprosy, in a garment of woolen or linen, either in the warp or woof, or anything of skin, to pronounce it clean, or to pronounce it unclean. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, This shall be the law of the leper. In this day of his cleansing he shall be brought unto the priest. And the priest shall go forth out of the camp, and the priest shall look, and behold, if the plague of leprosy be healed in the leper, then shall the priest command to take for him that it is to be cleansed 2 birds alive and clean, and cedar wood, and scarlet, and hyssop. And the priest shall command that one of the birds be killed in an earthen vessel over running water. And the priest shall, as for the living bird, he shall take it and the cedar wood, and the scarlet, and the hyssop, and shall dip them and the living bird in the blood of the bird that was killed over the running water. Okay. And he shall sprinkle upon him that is to be cleansed from the leprosy 7 times, and shall pronounce him clean, and shall let the living bird loose into the open field. And he that is to be cleansed shall wash his clothes, and shave off all his hair, and wash himself in water, that he may be clean. And after that he shall come into the camp, and shall tarry abroad out of his tent 7 days. But it shall be on the 7th day that he shall shave all his hair off his head, and his beard, and his eyebrows, even all his hair he shall shave off. And he shall and he shall wash his clothes. Also he shall wash his flesh in water, and he shall be clean. And on the 8th day he shall take 2 lambs without blemish, and 1 ewe lamb of the first year without blemish, and 3/10 deals of fine flour for a meat offering, mingled with oil, and 1 log of oil. And the priest that maketh him clean shall present the man that is to be made clean in those things before the Lord, at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And the priest shall take 1 he-lamb, and offer him for a trespass offering, and the log of oil, and wave them for a wave offering before the Lord. And he shall slay the lamb in the place where he shall kill the sin offering and the burnt offering in the holy place. For as the sin offering is the priest, so is the trespass offering, it is most holy. And the priest shall take some of the blood of the trespass offering, and the priest shall put it upon the tip of the right ear of him that is to be cleansed, and upon the thumb of his right hand, and upon the great toe of his right foot. And the priest shall take some of the log of oil, and pour it into the palm of his own left hand. And the priest shall dip his right finger in the oil that is in his left hand, and shall sprinkle of the oil with his fingers 7 times before the Lord. Like the hand signs I'm doing. And of the rest of that oil that is in his hand shall the priest put upon the tip of his right ear of him that is to be cleansed, and upon the thumb of his right hand, and upon the great toe of his right foot, upon the blood of the trespass offering. And the remnant of the oil that is in the priest's hand he shall pour upon the head of him that is to be cleansed, not me. And the priest shall make an atonement for him before the Lord. Okay. And the priest shall offer the sin offering, and make an atonement for him that is to be cleansed from his uncleanness. And afterward he shall kill the burnt offering. And the priest shall offer the burnt offering and the meat offering upon the altar. And the priest shall make an atonement for him, and he shall be clean. And if he be poor and cannot get so much, then he shall take 1 lamb for a trespass, offering to be waved, to make an atonement for him, and 1/10 deal of fine flour mingled with oil for a meat offering, and a log of oil, and 2 turtle doves, and 2 young pigeons, such as he is able to get. And the one shall be a sin offering, and the other a burnt offering. And he shall bring them on the 8th day for his cleansing unto the priest, unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before the Lord. And the priest shall take the lamb of the trespass offering and the log of oil, and the priest shall wave them for a wave offering before the Lord. And he shall kill the lamb of the trespass offering, and the priest shall take some of the blood of the trespass offering, and put it upon the tip of the right ear of him that is to be cleansed, and upon the thumb of his right hand, and upon the great toe of his right foot. And the priest shall pour of the oil into the palm of his own left hand. And the priest shall sprinkle with his right finger some of the oil that is in his left hand 7 times before the Lord. And the priest shall put of the oil that is in his hand upon the tip of the right ear of him that is to be cleansed, and upon the thumb of his right hand, and upon the great toe of his right foot, upon the place of the blood of the trespass offering. And the rest of the oil that is in the priest's hand he shall put upon the head of him that is to be cleansed, to make an atonement for him before the Lord. He shall offer the one of the turtle doves or of the young pigeons, such as he can get, even such as he is able to get, the one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering, with the meat offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for him that is to be cleansed before the Lord. That this is the law of him in whom is the plague of leprosy, whose hand is not able to get that which pertaineth to his cleansing. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron, saying, When ye be come into the land of Canaan, which I give you for a possession, and I put the plague of leprosy in the house of the land of your possession, and he that owneth the house shall come and tell the priest, saying, It seemeth to me there is as it were a plague in the house, then the priest shall command that they empty the house before the priest go into it to see the plague, that all that is in the house be not made unclean. And afterward the priest shall go in to see the house, and he shall look on the plague, and behold, if the plague be in the walls of the house, with hollow strakes, greenish or reddish, which in sight are lower than the wall, And the priest shall go out of the house to the door of the house, and shut up the house 7 days. And the priest shall come again the 7th day, and shall look. And behold, if the plague be spread in the walls of the house, then the priest shall command that they take away the stones in which the plague is, and they shall cast them into an unclean place without the city. And he shall cause the house to be scraped within round about, and they shall pour out the dust that they scrape off without the city into an unclean place. And they shall take other stones, and put them in the place of those stones, and he shall take other mortar, and shall plaister the house. And if the plague come again and break out in the house, after that he hath taken away the stones, and after he hath scraped the house, and after it is plastered, then the priest shall come and look, and behold, if the plague be spread in the house, it is a fretting leprosy in the house. It is unclean, and he shall break down the house, the stones of it, and the timber thereof, and all the mortar of the house, and he shall carry them forth out of the city into an unclean place. Moreover, he that goeth into the house all the while that it is shut up shall be unclean until the even. And he that lieth in the house shall wash his clothes, and he that eateth in the house shall wash his clothes. And if the priest shall come in and look upon it, and behold, the plague hath not spread in the house after the house was plastered, then the priest shall pronounce the house clean, because the plague is healed. And he shall take to cleanse the house 2 buds, and cedar wood, and scarlet, and hyssop, and he shall kill the one of the buds in an earthen vessel of running water. And he shall take the cedar wood, and the hyssop, and the scarlet, and the living bud, and dip them in the blood of the slain bird, and in the running water, and sprinkle the house several times. And he shall cleanse the house with the blood of the bird, and with the running water, and with the living bird, and with the cedar wood, and with the hyssop, and with the scarlet. But he shall let go the living bird out of the city into the open fields, and make an atonement for the house, and it shall be clean. This is a law for all manner of plague of leprosy and scall, and for the leprosy of a garment, and of a house, and for a rising, and for a scab, and for a bright spot, to teach when it is unclean, and when it is clean. This is the law of leprosy. And the Lord spake unto Moses and to Aaron, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When any man hath a running issue out of his flesh, because of his issue he is unclean, and this shall be in his uncleanness in his issue, whether his flesh run with his issue, or his flesh be stopped from his issue, it is his uncleanness. Every bed whereon he lieth that hath the issue is unclean, and everything whereon he sitteth shall be unclean. And whosoever toucheth his bed shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And he that sitteth on anything whereon he sat that hath the issue shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And he that toucheth the flesh of him that hath the issue shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And if he that hath the issue spit upon him that is clean, then he shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And what saddle soever he rideth upon that hath the issue shall be unclean. Whosoever toucheth anything that was under him shall be unclean until the even. And he that beareth any of those things shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. Whomsoever he toucheth that hath the issue, and hath not rinsed his hands in water, he shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And the vessel of earth that he toucheth with hath the issue shall be broken, and every vessel of wood shall be rinsed in water. And when he that hath an issue is cleansed of his issue, then he shall number to himself 7 days for his cleansing, and wash his clothes, and bathe his flesh in running water, and shall be clean. And on the 8th day he shall take to him 2 turtle doves, or 2 young pigeons, and come before the Lord unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and give them unto the priest. And the priest shall offer them, the one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering, and the priest shall make an atonement for him before the Lord for his issue. And if any man's seed of copulation go out from him, then he shall wash all his flesh in water, and be unclean until the even. And every garment and every skin whereon is the seed of copulation shall be washed with water, and be unclean until the even. The woman also with whom man shall lie with seed of copulation, they shall both bathe themselves in water, and be unclean until the even. And if a woman have an issue, and her issues and her flesh be blood, she shall be put apart 7 days, and whosoever toucheth her shall be unclean until the even. And everything that she lieth upon in her separation shall be unclean. Everything also that she sitteth upon shall be unclean. And whosoever toucheth her bed shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And whosoever toucheth anything that she sat upon shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. and if it be on her bed, or on anything whereon she sitteth, when he toucheth it, he shall be unclean until the evening. And if any man lie with her at all, and her flowers be upon her, he shall be unclean 7 days, and all the bed whereon he lieth shall be unclean. And if a woman have an issue of her blood many days out of the time of her separation, or if it run beyond the time of her separation, all the days of the issue of her uncleanness shall be as the days of her separation. She shall be unclean. Every bed whereon she lieth all the days of her issue shall be unto her as the bed of her separation, and whatsoever she sitteth upon shall be unclean as the uncleanness of her separation. And whosoever toucheth those things shall be unclean, and shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. But if she be cleansed of her issues, then she shall number to herself 7 days, and after that she shall be clean. And on the 8th day she shall take unto her 2 turtles or 2 young pigeons, and bring them unto the priest, to the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And the priest shall offer the one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering, and the priest shall make an atonement for her before the Lord for the issue of her uncleanness. Thus shall ye separate the children of Israel from their uncleanness, that they die not in their uncleanness, when they defile my tabernacle that is among them. This is the law of him that hath an issue, and of him whose seed goeth from him, and is defiled therewith, and of her that is sick of her flowers, and of him that hath an issue, of the man and of the woman, and of him that lieth with her that is unclean. One second. Excuse me. And we're on chapter 16 now. And the Lord spake unto Moses after the death of the 2 sons of Aaron, when they offered before the Lord and died. And the Lord said unto Moses, Speak unto Aaron thy brother, that he come not at all times into the holy place within the veil before the mercy seat, which is upon the ark, that he die not. For I will appear in the cloud upon the mercy seat. Talking about this thing. Thus shall Aaron come into the holy place, with a young bullock for a sin offering, and a ram for a burnt offering. He shall put on the holy linen coat, and he shall have the linen breeches upon his flesh, and shall be girded with a linen girdle, and with the linen mitre shall he be attired. These are the holy garments. Therefore shall he wash his flesh in water, and so put them on. And he shall take of the congregation of the children of Israel 2 kids of the goats for a sin offering, and 1 ram for a burnt offering. And Aaron shall offer his bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself, and make an atonement for himself and for his house. And he shall take the 2 goats, and present them before the Lord at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And Aaron shall cast lots upon the 2 goats, 1 lot for the Lord, and the other lot for the scapegoat. And Aaron shall bring the goat upon which the Lord's lot fell, and offer him for a sin offering. But the goat on which the lot fell to be the scapegoat shall be presented alive before the Lord, to make an atonement with him, and to let him go for a scapegoat into the wilderness. And Aaron shall bring the bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself, and make an atonement for himself and for his house, and shall kill the bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself. And he shall take a censer full of burning coals of fire from off the altar before the Lord, and his hand full of sweet incense beaten small, and bring it within the veil. And he shall put the incense upon the fire before the Lord, that the cloud of the incense may cover the mercy seat that is upon the testimony, that he die not. And he shall take of the blood of the bullock, and sprinkle it with his finger upon the mercy seat eastward, and before the mercy seat shall he sprinkle of the blood with his finger several times. Then shall he kill the goat of the sin offering, that is for the people, and bring his blood within the veil, and do with that blood as he did with the blood of the bullock, and sprinkle it upon the mercy seat and before the mercy seat. And he shall make an atonement for the holy place, because of the uncleanness of the children of Israel, and because of their transgressions and all their sins, and so shall he do for the tabernacle of the congregation that remaineth among them in the midst of their uncleanness. And there shall be no man in the tabernacle of the congregation, when he goeth in to make an atonement in the holy place, until he come out, and have made an atonement for himself, and for his household, and for all the congregation of Israel. And he shall go out unto the altar that is before the Lord, and make an atonement for it, and shall take of the blood of the bullock, and of the blood of the goat, and put it upon the horns of the altar round about. And he shall sprinkle of the blood upon it with his fingers several times, and cleanse it, and hallow it from the uncleanness of the children of Israel. And when he hath made an end of reconciling the holy place, and the tabernacle of the congregation, and the altar, he shall bring the live goat, And Aaron shall lay both his hands upon the head of the live goat, and confess over him all the iniquities of the children of Israel, and all their transgressions and all their sins, putting them upon the head of the goat, and shall send him away by the hand of a fit man into the wilderness. And the goat shall bear upon him all their iniquities into a land not inhabited, and he shall let go the goat in the wilderness. We're going to talk about that passage. And Aaron shall come into the tabernacle of the congregation, and shall put off the linen garments, which he put on when he went into the holy place, and shall leave them there. And he shall wash his flesh with water in the holy place, and put on his garments, and come forth, and offer his burnt offering, and the burnt offering for the people, and make an atonement for himself and for the people. And the fat of the sin offering shall he burn upon the altar. And he that let go the goat for the scapegoat shall wash his clothes, and bathe his flesh in water, and afterward come into the camp. For the bullock for the sin offering, and the goat for the sin offering, whose blood was brought in to make atonement in the holy place, shall one carry forth without the camp. They shall burn in the fire the skins and the flesh and their dung, and he that burneth them shall wash his clothes and bathe his flesh in water. And afterward he shall come into the camp. And this shall be a statute forever unto you, that in the 7th month, on the 10th day of the month, ye shall afflict your souls, and do no work at all, whether it be one of your own country, or a stranger that sojourneth among you. For on that day shall the priest make an atonement for you, to cleanse you, that ye may be clean from all your sins before the Lord. It shall be a Sabbath of rest unto you, and ye shall afflict your souls by a statute forever. And the priest whom he shall anoint, and whom he shall consecrate to minister in the priest's office in his father's stead, shall make the atonement, and shall put on the linen clothes, even the holy garments. And he shall make an atonement for the holy sanctuary, and he shall make an atonement for the tabernacle of the congregation, and for the altar, and he shall make an atonement for the priest, and for all the people of the congregation. And this shall be an everlasting statute unto you, to make an atonement for the children of Israel for all their sins once a year. And he did as the Lord commanded Moses. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and to his sons, and unto all the children of Israel, and say unto them, This is the thing which the Lord hath commanded, saying, What man soever there be of the house of Israel that killeth an ox, or lamb, or goat in the camp, or that killeth it out of the camp, and bringeth it not unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, to offer an offering unto the Lord before the tabernacle of the Lord, blood shall be imputed unto that man. He hath shed blood, and that man shall be cut off from his people, to the end that the children of Israel may bring their sacrifices which they offer in the open field, even that they may bring them unto the Lord, unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, unto the priest, and offer them for peace offerings unto the Lord. And the priest shall sprinkle the blood upon the altar of the Lord at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and burn the fat for a sweet savour unto the Lord. And they shall no more offer their sacrifices unto devils, after whom they have gone a whoring. This shall be a statute forever unto them throughout their generations. And thou shalt say unto them, Whatsoever man there be of the house of Israel, or of the strangers which sojourn among you, that offereth a burnt offering or a sacrifice, and bringeth it not unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, to offer it unto the Lord, even that man shall be cut off from among his people. And whatsoever man there be of the house of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn among you, that eateth any manner of blood, I will even set my face against that soul that eateth blood, and will cut him off from among his people. For the life of the flesh is in blood. That's a good verse. For the life of the flesh is in the blood. It's a good verse. Kind of shocked me. I don't know why. But we'll continue. For the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it to you upon the altar to make an atonement for your souls. For it is the blood that maketh an atonement for the soul. Ooh. Oh, that is a good verse. If you look at it. Okay, that's verse 11, right? I need to write that down somewhere. Verse 11 of chapter 17. Oh my goodness, man. That was a good verse. I don't know. That was a good verse. Gotta write that one down. Okay, continuing verse 12 of chapter 17. Therefore I said unto the children of Israel, No soul of you shall eat blood, neither shall any stranger that sojourneth among you eat blood. And whatsoever man there be of the children of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn among you, which hunteth and catcheth any beast or fowl. Excuse me, I just burped. My goodness, excuse me. he shall even, okay, and catches any beast or fowl that may be eaten, he shall even pour out the blood thereof, and cover it with dust. For it is the life of all flesh. The blood of it is for the life thereof. Therefore I said unto the children of Israel, ye shall eat the blood of no manner of flesh. For the life of all flesh is the blood thereof. Whosoever eateth shall be cut off. Oh, that's a good... Oh, dude, what the heck? These verses are... Like, if you're looking at it in a good way, you're looking at it as, like, a lawful way. But if you look at it with, like, a spiritual, like, depth, oh, man, that's like... You can view that as what Jesus taught. Like, if you're living in flesh, you will be cut off. Oh, that's good. That one was verse 14. 3 verses after 11, man. Okay, I'm gonna know. Those so far are my 2 verses, favorite verses out of Leviticus. Man, those are good. All right, if you view it in spiritual depth, man. Okay. I gotta keep going. That's good stuff. Okay, verse 15 of chapter 17. And every soul that eateth that which died of itself, or that which was torn with beast, whether it be one of your own country or a stranger, he shall both wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. Then shall he be clean. But if he wash them not, nor bathe his flesh, then he shall bear his iniquity. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, I am the Lord your God. After the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do. And after the doings of the land of Canaan, whether I bring you, shall ye not do. Neither shall ye walk in their ordinances. Ye shall do my judgments, and keep mine ordinances to walk therein. I am the Lord your God. Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, which if a man do, he shall live in them. I am the Lord. Verse 5 is good, of chapter 18. None of you, verse 6, none of you shall approach to any that is near of kin to him, to uncover their nakedness. I am the Lord. The nakedness of thy father, or the nakedness of thy mother, shalt thou not uncover. She is thy mother. Thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. The nakedness of thy father's wife shalt thou not uncover. It is thy father's nakedness. The nakedness of thy sister, the daughter of thy father, or daughter of thy mother, whether she be born at home or born abroad, even their nakedness thou shalt not uncover. The nakedness of thy son's daughter, or of thy daughter's daughter, even their nakedness thou shalt not uncover. For theirs is thine own nakedness. The nakedness of thy father's wife's daughter, begotten of thy father, she is thy sister. Thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy father's sister, she is thy father's near kinswoman. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy mother's sister, for she is thy mother's near kinswoman. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy father's brother. Thou shalt not approach to his wife, she is thine aunt. Thou shalt not uncover thy nakedness of thy daughter-in-law, she is thy son's wife. Thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy brother's wife, it is thy brother's nakedness. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of a woman and her daughter, neither shalt thou take a son's daughter or her daughter's daughter to uncover her nakedness, for they are her near kinswoman, it is wickedness. Neither shalt thou take a wife to a sister to vex her, to uncover her nakedness beside the other in her lifetime. Also, thou shalt not approach unto a woman to uncover her nakedness, as long as she is put apart for her uncleanness. Moreover, thou shalt not lie carnally with thy neighbor's wife, to defile thyself with her. And thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Molech. Neither shalt thou profane the name of thy God. I am the Lord. Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is abomination. Neither shalt thou lie with any beast to defile thyself therewith. Neither shall any woman stand before a beast to lie down thereto. It is confusion. A lot of people do that. The Lord called them confused. Defile not ye yourselves in any of these things, for in all these the nations are defiled which I cast out before you, and the land is defiled. Therefore I do visit the iniquity thereof upon it, and the land itself vomiteth out her inhabitants. Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, and shall not commit any of these abominations, neither any of your own nation, nor any stranger that sojourneth among you. For all these abominations have the men of the land done, which were before you, and the land is defiled. that the land spew not you out also, when ye defile it, as it spewed out the nations that were before you. Probably mentioning Sodom and Gomorrah, to be honest. For whosoever shall commit any of these abominations, even the souls that commit them, shall be cut off from among their people. Therefore shall ye keep mind of the ordinance, that ye commit not any one of these abominable customs, which were committed before you, and that ye defile not yourselves therein. I am the Lord your God. Excuse me. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto all the congregation of the children of Israel, and say unto them, Ye shall be holy, for I the Lord your God am holy. Ye shall fear every man his mother and his father, and keep my Sabbath. I am the Lord your God. Turn ye not unto idols, nor make to yourselves molten gods. I am the Lord your God. And if ye offer sacrifice of peace offerings unto the Lord, ye shall offer it at your own will. It shall be eaten the same day, ye offer it, and on the morrow. And if aught remain until the third day, it shall be burnt in the fire. And if it be eaten at all on the third day, it is abominable. It shall not be accepted. Therefore every one that eateth it shall bear his iniquity, because he hath profaned the hallowed thing of the Lord. Hallowed, by the way, means holy, pretty much. So, like when you say that prayer, hallowed be thy name, holy be God's name. So, and that soul shall be cut off from among his people. And when ye reap the harvest of your land, thou shalt not wholly reap the corners of thy field, neither shalt thou gather the gleanings of thy harvest. And thou shalt not glean thy vineyard, neither shalt thou gather every grape of thy vineyard. Thou shalt leave them for the poor and stranger. I am the Lord your God. Ye shall not steal, neither deal falsely, neither lie one to another. And ye shall not swear by my name falsely, neither shalt thou profane the name of thy God. I am the Lord. Thou shalt not defraud thy neighbor, neither rob him. The wages of him that is hired shall not abide with thee all night until the morning. Thou shalt not curse the deaf, nor put a stumbling block before the blind, but shalt fear thy God. I am the Lord. Yea, shall do no unrighteousness in judgment. Thou shalt not respect the person of the poor, nor honor the person of the mighty, but in righteousness shalt thou judge thy neighbor. Thou shalt not go up and down as a talebearer among thy people, neither shalt thou stand against the blood of thy neighbor. I am the Lord. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor, and not suffer sin upon him. Thou shalt not avenge, nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord. Ye shall keep my statutes. Thou shalt not let thy cattle gender with a diverse kind. Thou shalt not sow thy field with mingled seed. Neither shall a garment mingled of linen and woolen come upon thee. And whosoever lieth carnally with a woman that is a bondmaid, betrothed to an husband, and not at all redeemed, nor freedom given her, she shall be scourged. They shall not be put to death, because she was not free. And he shall bring his trespass offering unto the Lord, unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, even a ram for a trespass offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for him with the ram of the trespass offering before the Lord for his sin which he hath done. And the sin which he hath done shall be forgiven him. And when ye shall come into the land, and shall have planted all manner of trees for food, then ye shall count the fruit thereof as uncircumcised. 3 years shall it be as uncircumcised unto you, it shall not be eaten of. But in the 4th year all the fruit thereof shall be holy, to praise the Lord withal. And in the 5th year shall ye eat of the fruit thereof, that it may yield unto you the increase thereof. I am the Lord your God. Ye shall not eat anything with the blood, neither shall ye use enchantment, nor observe times. Ye shall not round the corners of your heads, neither shalt thou mar the corners of thy beard. Just scratching my beard as I said that was weird. Well, my in process. It's in process. I'm trying to grow it out. Ye shall not make, verse 28, by the way. Ye shall not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, nor print any marks upon you. I am the Lord. Do not prostitute thy daughter, to cause her to be a whore, lest the land fall to whoredom, and the land become full of wickedness. Ye shall keep my Sabbath, and reverence my sanctuary. I am the Lord. Regard not them that have familiar spirits, neither seek after wizards, to be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God. Thou shalt rise up before the hoary head, and honor the face of the old man, and fear thy God. I am the Lord. And if a stranger sojourn with thee in your land, ye shall not vex him, but the stranger that dwelleth with you shall be unto you as one born among you, and thou shalt love him as thyself, for ye were strangers in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. Ye shall not do no unrighteousness in judgment, in mityud, and weight one measure. Just balances, just weights, a just ephah, and a just hin shall ye have. I am the Lord your God, which brought you out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall ye observe all my statutes and all my judgments, and do them. I am the Lord. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Again, thou shalt say to the children of Israel, Whosoever he be of the children of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn in Israel, that giveth any of his seed unto Molech, he shall surely be put to death. The people of the land shall stone him with stones. And I will set my face against that man, and will cut him off from among his people, because he hath given of his seed unto Molech, to defile my sanctuary, to profane my holy name. And if the people of the land do anyways hide their eyes from the man, when he giveth of his seed unto Molech, and kill him not, then I will set my face against that man, and against his family, and will cut him off, and all that go a whoring after him to commit whoredom with Molech from among their people. And the souls that turneth after such as have familiar spirits, and after wizards to a whoring after them, I will even set my face against that soul, and will cut him off from among his people. Sanctify yourselves, therefore, and be ye holy, for I am the Lord your God. And ye shall keep my statutes, and do them. I am the Lord which sanctify you. For every one that curseth his father or his mother shall be surely put to death. He hath cursed his father or his mother, his blood shall be upon him. And the man that committeth adultery with another man's wife, even he that committeth adultery with his neighbour's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress shall surely be put to death. And the man that lieth with his father's wife hath uncovered his father's nakedness. Both of them shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. And if a man lie with his daughter-in-law, both of them shall surely be put to death. They have wrought confusion. Their blood shall be upon them. If a man also lie with mankind, as he lieth with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. And if a man take a wife and her mother, it is wickedness. They shall be burnt with fire, both he and they, that there be no wickedness among you. And if a man lie with a beast, he shall surely be put to death. And ye shall slay the beast. And if a woman approach unto any beast, and lie down thereto, thou shalt kill the woman and the beast. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. And if a man shall take his sister, his father's daughter or his mother's daughter, and see her nakedness, and she see his nakedness, it is a wicked thing, and they shall be cut off in the sight of their people. He hath uncovered his sister's nakedness. He shall bear his iniquity. And if a man shall lie with a woman having her sickness, and shall uncover her nakedness, he hath discovered her fountain, and she hath uncovered the fountain of her blood, and both of them shall be cut off from among their people. And thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy mother's sister, nor of thy father's sister, for he uncovereth his near kin. They shall bear their iniquity. And if a man shall lie with his uncle's wife, he hath uncovered his sister's nakedness. They shall bear their sin. They shall die childless. And if a man shall take his brother's wife, it is an unclean thing. He hath uncovered his brother's nakedness. They shall be childless. Ye shall therefore keep all my statutes and all my judgments, and do them, that the land whither I bring you to dwell therein spew you not out. And ye shall not walk in the manners of the nation which I cast out before you, for they committed all these things, and therefore I abhorred them. But I have said unto you, Ye shall inherit the land, and I will give it unto you to possess it, a land that floweth with milk and honey. I am the Lord your God, which has separated you from another people. Ye shall therefore put difference between clean beast and unclean, and between unclean fowls and unclean. And ye shall not make your souls abominable, by beast or by fowl or by any manner of living thing that creepeth on the ground, which I have separated from you as unclean. And ye shall be holy unto me, for I the Lord am holy, and have severed you from other people, that ye should be mine. A man also or woman that hath a familiar spirit, or that is a wizard, shall surely be put to death. They shall stone him with stones. The blood shall be upon them. Okay. Well, chapter 17 was getting me hyped, to be honest. It was good. So, let's see. Well, let's start cooking. That means to start talking about cool stuff. So, we just start talking about leprosy. We go on like for 2 chapters, like 60 verses about leprosy, man. More, actually. Now, let's see. We go about 116 verses about leprosy. My goodness. Well, we're knowledgeable about leprosy, but we won't really need this knowledge for leprosy nowadays. I mean, it's good to know because it makes parallels to Christ, but you know. But the Hebrew word for leprosy is tasarath, which translated into the Greek as lepra, and transliterated as such into Latin. Thus, most English translations render the word as leprosy. The Hebrew word, however, is a generic term that refers to changes in the surface of the human skin and is best translated as a serious disease on the skin. It can also indicate fungus or mildew. During the post-Silesic period, rabbis identified 72 types of skin disease. When you read verses 3 through 8, there's 2 different types of problems that are described here. One can be classified as minor because the disorder was not severe and the isolation was not long. But in the second type, the infected spread much, which happened in verse 7, which we'll read. But if the scab spread much abroad in the skin after that he hath been seen of the priest and for his cleansing, he shall be seen of the priest again. You know, he has to be casted away for several days, come back, hey, yo, look at this. And the priest be like, oh, it's just acne, it's just scab, or if it's leprosy, you shall be declared unclean. But, yeah, that's one of the problems, and that one, in verse 7, indicates that the infection has spread drastically. The ritual period of 7 days is predominant, and we talked about it last video on Exodus. Number 7 is a, how do I say this? Derivatives occur 176 times in Leviticus. It symbolizes fullness, perfection, or completion. Later rabbis suggested that the person being isolated was banished outside the camp or city, while others suggested that it was in special quarters, as in the case of King Uzziah. Verse 9, when the plague of leprosy is in a man, then he shall be brought unto the priest. And verse 11, it is an old leprosy in the skin of his flesh, and the priest shall pronounce him unclean, and shall not shut him up, for he is unclean. And verse 15, which says, and the priest shall see the raw flesh and pronounce him to be unclean, for the raw flesh is unclean, it is a leprosy. Involved, so those few verses says that, this just really is pretty much saying leprosy involved the presence of raw flesh, rendering the person unclean. The Hebrew word testarath appears 5 times in the Old Testament, but only 6 times outside of Leviticus. A person is pronounced unclean 7 times in this chapter. Did I say pronounced 5 times? That's why I got confused. It's pronounced 35 times. And it's pronounced 6 times outside of Leviticus. So 35 times in the Old Testament in total. 5 of those times is in 7 of those times is in chapter 13, and 6 times is in other books. So that means 29 times Tasherath is used in Leviticus. I don't know why it's important, but it's pretty cool to know. Verse 30 says, then the priest shall see the plague, and behold, if it be in bright deeper than the skin, and there be in it a yellow thin hair, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a dry scall, even a leprosy upon the head or beard. The term scall appears only in this pericope of the Bible. It refers to a skin disease that appeared on a person's head or beard. So verses 45 through 46 says, and the leopard in whom the plague is, his clothes shall be rent, and his head bare, and he shall put a covering upon his upper lip, and shall cry. Unclean, unclean. All the days wherein the plague shall be in him, he shall be defiled. He is unclean, he shall dwell alone. Without the camp shall his habitation be. So yeah, this part seems very brutal, doesn't it? The person rendered unclean was regulated to life outside the community until healed. So, see, not that brutal. So the torn clothes were a sign of mourning. We talked about that in Genesis a lot, and Exodus. A sign of mourning, yeah. But while the crying out was a warning to those who were ceremonially clean, this practice was still observed during Jesus' time, when 10 men with serious skin diseases stood at a distance from the community and were asked by Jesus to show themselves to the priest after he had healed them. We haven't gotten to that part in the Gospels. We're going to be starting Mark, and then this one's in Luke chapter 17. We'll get to it in like 25 videos probably. But verses 47 through 59 talks about the treatment of garments. 47 through 59. But so as with contagious skin diseases, so also with mildew of fungus, no spreadable plague of fabric or leather was permitted to undermine the ceremonial cleanness of the community. Chapter 14, really, from verses 1 through 32, God in his grace provided for the restoration of the person rendered unclean by skin disease. This is really talking about, law for cleansing lepers, the first day of cleansing, the seventh day of cleansing, the eighth day of cleansing, a poor man's offering, all that stuff. So, yeah, in his grace, he provided out, the restoration. Someone who had, unclean, and because of a skin disease. The priest did not cure the person affected, they only diagnosed the disease and helped with the religious rituals subsequent to a person's healing. But this chapter, chapter 14, points to the grace of God, who made provision for the people affected by disease to return to the community of the faithful. Verse 3 says, And the priest shall go forth out of the camp, and the priest shall look, and behold, if the plague of leprosy be healed in the leopard. The examination of the person afflicted with a skin disease had to be done outside of the camp, in case the disease had not healed completely. But people or things rendered unclean had to be taken outside the camp, a place where ashes were dumped, corpses were buried, illegitimate sacrifices were offered, blasphemers were executed, and people with skin disease were banished. Verse 4 says, Then shall the priest command to take for him that is to be cleansed 2 birds alive and clean instead of wood and scarlet and hyssop. Although the person was healed, he had to go through a cleansing ritual that involved animal sacrifice. The scarlet was a woolen yarn colored with a crimson scarlet dye made from the kermes or cochineal scaled insects. The plants known as hyssop had a good absorbing quality, which was abundant in Israel and was associated with purification. Verse 11 through 13 says, And the priest that maketh him clean shall present the man that is to be made clean, and those things before the Lord, at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And the priest shall take 1 he-lamb and offer him for a trespass offering, and the log of oil, and wave him for a wave offering before the Lord. And he shall slay the lamb in his place, where he shall kill the sin offering and the burnt offering in the holy place. For as the sin offering is the priest, so is the trespass offering, it is most holy. But a trespass offering was necessary because the person afflicted was, absent from the community and was separated from God by not being allowed in the holy place. But this offering was unique in that it was the only blood sacrifice in which the entire animal had to undergo the wave rite. But because the blood of the lamb was crucial for this offering, a person could not commute the sacrifice with money. Verse 14 says, And the priest shall take some of the blood of the trespass offering, and the priest shall put it upon the tip of his right ear of him that is to be cleansed, and upon the thumb of his right hand, and upon the great toe of his right foot. But the placing of blood on the healed person's extremities symbolized that, his entire being, his ear, hand, and foot, must be consecrated to God. Verse 18 through 20 says, And the remnant of the oil that is in the priest's hand, he shall pour upon the head of him that is to be cleansed, and the priest shall make an atonement for him before the Lord. And the priest shall offer the sin offering, and make an atonement for him that is to be cleansed from his uncleanness, and afterward he shall kill the burnt offering. And the priest shall offer the burnt offering and the meat offering upon the altar, and the priest shall make an atonement for him, and he shall be clean. The priest must also bring a burnt offering in order to make an atonement. for the person who had been healed. But the verb translated, make atonement, can mean to wipe away, to purge, to purify, or to atone for, which most of us view it as. But as a result, the healed person would be pronounced clean and thus forgiven, ready to enter God's presence with confidence. Verses 33 through 53 is talking about the plague of leprosy in the house. As with mildew in fabric, which we talked about earlier in verses 47 through 59 of chapter 13, plague, which was mildew in a house, would compromise the ceremonial cleanness of the community and therefore was not allowed because it could spread. It was thoroughly eradicated. But the ceremony for purifying a building with mildew was similar to that for a person with a skin disease, except that there was no trespass offering or sin offering for the building, since it only had to be declared clean. It did not have to be prepared for communion with God. Verses 1 through 3 of chapter 15 says, And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When any man had a running issue out of his flesh, because of his issue he is unclean, and this shall be his uncleanness and his issue, whether his flesh run with his issue, or his flesh be stopped from his issue, it is his uncleanness. So the word flesh here is a euphemism for the male genitalia. So if you're sensitive to this kind of stuff, we're about to get on that topic, but the word running issue probably refers to some chronic infection in men. I assumed it was the ejaculation part, but the adjective unclean is used 25 times in Leviticus, and it can refer to either an ethical or religious impurity. Verse 8 says, And if he that hath the issue spit upon him that is clean, then he shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean till the even. So spitting was a gesture of extreme contempt, and pointed not just to the outside uncleanness, but to the man's wicked heart. Verse 15 through 15. Verse 15 through 15. Did I say that? Verse 14 through 15. I can't believe I just said verse 15 to 15. Anyway, and on the 8th day you shall take to him 2 turtle doves, 2 young pigeons, and come before the Lord unto the door of the tabernacle of his congregation, and give them unto the priest. And the priest shall offer them, the one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering, and the priest shall make an atonement for him before the Lord for his issue. The sin offering would remove the impurity, while the burnt offering would serve the man to the Israelite community. The animals needed for these offerings are the least costly, 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons. Verse 16 through 18 says, And if any man's seed of the copulation go out from him, then he shall wash all his flesh in water, and be unclean until the even. And every garment and every skin whereon is the seed of copulation shall be washed with water, and be unclean until the evening. The woman also with whom man shall lie with seed of copulation, they shall both bathe themselves in water, and be unclean until the even. So, again, a little warning. This is getting into, stuff people might be sensitive about. It's talking about, the sex, and, we're getting into the sex laws and the reproduction laws, all that stuff. So if you don't like hearing that stuff. But, the phrase seed of copulation can refer to a nocturnal ejaculation, as well as ejaculation and, sexual intercourse. But this passage does not suggest that God considered sex sinful. Rather, God gave laws to ensure that sex must not be part of the sanctuary rites. Like we know, the Song of Solomon, or Song of Songs, whatever you want to refer to, and that's just a lot about the passion of marriage and love. But rather, these laws were a clear contrast with the ancient Near Eastern religions that portrayed gods and goddesses engaging in sexual relationships, and their followers imitating them as part of pagan temple worship. So, based off the Bible, sex is allowed in marriage, not before marriage, not for fornication or lust, but out of love, out of passion, and to strengthen the army of God by making more children. It's only allowed for specific reasons, not out of lust or, pagan rites or all that stuff. But, verse 19, again, and if a woman have an issue, and her issue in her flesh be blood, she shall be put apart 7 days, and whosoever toucheth her shall be unclean until the evening. The word flesh here is a euphemism for the female genitalia. Verse 20, and everything that she lieth upon in her separation shall be unclean. Everything also that she sitteth upon shall be unclean. The idea that menstruation rendered a woman unclean was a common conception throughout the ancient Near East. Both the Egyptians and the Persians thought of menstruation as cultic uncleanness. Verse 25 says, and if a woman have an issue of her blood many days out of the time of her separation, or if it run beyond the time of her separation, all the days of the issue of her uncleanness shall be as the days of her separation, she shall be unclean. This issue refers to a chronic condition that is not related to menstruation. Verse 31, thus shall ye separate the children of Israel from their uncleanness, that they die not in their uncleanness, that is when they defile my tabernacle that is among them. I kind of messed up that verse, but so the verb separate comes from the Hebrew root nazar, which means to refrain, to be a Nazarite. Here it conveys the idea that the Israelites were to refrain from being unclean so they could enter God's sanctuary. To defile the tabernacle was grounds for the death of penalty. So, how long is chapter 16? Okay, that's what I thought. So, entirety of chapter 16, pretty much, sum it up. In His mercy and grace, God provided the Day of Atonement as a sacred time in which the high priest cleansed the sanctuary and made atonement for the sins of the people. Verse 2, and the Lord said unto Moses, speak unto thy brother that he come not after all times into the holy place within the veil before the mercy seat which is upon the ark, that he die not, for I will appear in the cloud upon the mercy seat. The holy place refers to the Holy of Holies. The mercy seat was a place of atonement and was made of a solid gold slab that covered the Ark of the Covenant. This thing, look at it shine, it's so cool, I love it. Ark of the Covenant. Pretty cool. But, yeah. So, the cloud is not the cloud of smoke from the incense. It is the divine cloud representing God's presence that descended on the tabernacle was a sign that Israel was to make camp, and that rested on the ark when God spoke to Moses. Verse 4 says, he shall put on the holy linen coat, and he shall have the linen breeches upon his flesh, and shall be girded with a linen girdle, and with a linen mitre shall he be attired. These are holy garments. Therefore shall he wash his flesh in water, and so put them on. But the high priest wore the garments of an ordinary priest, indicating that he must be humble, free of all pretense. The high priest must wash his body twice, and he would wash his hands and feet each time he entered the tabernacle or officiated at the altar. Verses 7 through 10. And he shall take the 2 goats and present them before the Lord at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And Aaron shall cast lots upon the 2 goats, one lot for the Lord and the other lot for the scapegoat. And Aaron shall bring the goat upon which the Lord's lot fell, and offer him for a sin offering. But the goat on which the lot fell to be the scapegoat shall be presented alive before the Lord to make an atonement with him, and to let him go for a scapegoat into the wilderness. 3 different interpretations have been proposed for the meaning of Azazel, which is scapegoat. That's something that's, we're going to talk about that. So, it is really interesting who Azazel is, and we'll get into that. Azazel, which is, scapegoat for, Hebrew for scapegoat, was a word that occurs only in this chapter. It can be translated as the one carrying away evil, from which we got the term scapegoat. The second view was developed by later rabbis who suggested that Azazel means a rough and difficult place, and that is represented the goat's destination. The third view suggests that the word is the name of a demon that inhabited the desert. Later Jewish interpreters identified Azazel with Azel, whom legend identified as the leader of the fallen angels. Now, let's get into that, because that is so interesting. So in the book of Enoch, this is the only time we're discussing the book of Enoch in a long time, by the way. First time in a long time, too, and it's going to be like the only time out of like the next 200 videos, probably. But Enoch talked about, mentioned in Genesis chapter 5, Hebrews chapter 11, and Jude. He walked with God faithfully, and was taken up to heaven. But In those days of Enoch, you get to like chapter 7, 6, 8, it starts talking about how the angels looked upon the earth and looked upon the woman and came down and defiled themselves with women and made children, and those children became Nephilim. And so one of them was named Azazel. And so God told the archangel Raphael, who supposedly, according to the book of Enoch, Raphael is a archangel. The only two archangels we see mentioned in the Bible is Gabriel and Michael. So if you want to believe that, that's your choice. But the archangel Raphael, who's in Enoch, book of Enoch, if you want to consider that canon or apocryphy, he went over to Azazel and binded him hand and foot and blinded him and threw him in a place called Dudel, and he cannot see darkness. He could see darkness. He couldn't see light though, and he won't ever see light until the great day of judgment day, and he'll be cast into the fire on that day with all his fallen angels. So he was the one who led the rebellion against God during those days. He was considered a watcher. Those fallen angels who looked upon the women and mated with them to make Nephilim were called the Watchers. But Azazel's name means scapegoat, like we just read. Scapegoat is English for Azazel. So, and a scapegoat will bear upon all the iniquities unto a land not inhabited, and he shall let go the goat in the wilderness. So the scapegoat bears all the sins and goes to this place that some people call Azazel, which is not a good place. But that's crazy, right? Because Azazel in the book of Enoch was binded under Dudel, and God, it says in book of Enoch that Azazel is ascribed all the sins of those fallen angels. So he is blamed for everything. And so his system, the Azazel system, as I like to call it, is the same way as his scapegoat. Pretty interesting, right? That's the only time we're going to be talking about the book of Enoch and that stuff for a very long time, by the way. We're not going to get back to it, but we are going to do videos on the book of Enoch once we're finished with the Bible. But after we finish the Bible, we're going to make right now we're trying to read throughout all of the Bible and explain it thoroughly. Once we get to Revelations, we're probably going to do a video on each chapter. It's going to be just huge for Revelation. It's going to be long videos. I know one chapter might be 1 hour long on regular, but on Revelations, one chapter will be 4 hours long, because I'm going to be taking notes. I already have a bunch of notes for it, but we're not going to do that until 13 months. But after we're done with the Bible, we're going to make a bunch of sermons. So yeah, we'll make a bunch of sermon videos, like how we did the sermon on the faith series, how to stay faithful to God, that series. And the difference between sinfulness and righteousness. There's an obvious difference, but how to indicate the other and how to behave the other. So but verses 17 through 19 in chapter 16. Enough of all that interesting stuff. Let's get into the other interesting stuff. So verses 17 through 19 of chapter 16. And there shall be no man in the tabernacle of the congregation when he goeth in to make an atonement in the holy place, until he come out and hath made an atonement for himself, and for his household, and for all the congregation of Israel, and shall go out unto the altar that is before the Lord, and make an atonement for it, and shall take of the blood of the bullock, and of the blood of the goat, and put it upon the horns of the altar round about. And he shall sprinkle of the blood upon it with his finger 7 times, and cleanse it, and hallow it from the uncleanness of the children of Israel. Only here, and in chapter 18, verse 15, is the altar said to be hallowed or cleansed. Scholars differ on whether this is the incense altar or the main altar, but the latter is more likely. So, verses 20 through 28 is, talking about the scapegoat, which we talked about what that was, and some burnt offerings. But the second phase of purification occurred through the removal of the scapegoat. The author of Hebrews drew a parallel to this ritual when he affirmed that Christ offered himself as a sin offering once and for all. I like that because my friend John Mitchell was talking to me about this chapter specifically yesterday. I was like, I texted him. I was like, I'm so excited about Leviticus because it's making so many parallels about Christ. And he texts me, that chapter 16 points straight to Jesus, and it does. It does. It really does. And I said, I'm gonna be dancing like David. I didn't get up and dance like David because I don't want to humiliate myself. But I don't got good dance moves. I gotta learn how to dance, and maybe I'll dance on video. If I'll learn how to dance, I'll learn how to do a Jewish dance. And whenever we get to that part where David dances, whenever he comes back into Jerusalem, I'll do that dance. I'll even wear my shepherd robes. All right, I have a little shepherd costume in my closet, so I'll do that. Like, you know, just because it's gonna be fun. But yeah, the author of Hebrews pale out on it, and you know, he suggests that Jesus was our scapegoat. But Jesus is also compared to the scapegoat because that he might, like in Hebrews it says, that he might sanctify the people with his own blood, suffered without the gates. Yeah, that says in Hebrew. But the fact that Jesus took our sins upon himself is also affirmed in, let me see, almost every single book in the Bible. Well, like Isaiah, 2 Corinthians, Galatians, 1 Peter, well, Hebrews, Revelation, the Gospels. But from a symbolic perspective, when Jesus died on the cross, the curtain that divided the Holy of Holies from the holy place was torn from top to bottom, signaling access to God by all people through Christ's atoning act on our behalf. Verse 29, it says, and this shall be a statute forever unto you, that in the 7th month, on the 10th day of the month, ye shall afflict your souls, and do no work at all, whether it be one of your own country, or a stranger that sojourneth among you. The Day of Atonement, which in Hebrew is Yom Kippur. Okay, I talked about that one on the TikTok video. I did a TikTok video on the shofar, and I was using the Hebrew word Yom Kippur. But yeah, the Day of Atonement was an annual, or Yom Kippur was an annual ceremony held on the 10th day of Tishrei, which was either September and October. Self-denial, though, which is afflict your soul, is usually associated with fasting and prayer. This chapter 17, this chapter introduces what is known as the holiness code, laws that call the people to live holy lives before a holy God. Verses 1 through 6 talks about bringing offerings to the tabernacle. It uses the verb killeth, which is a technical term for all sacrificial slaughter. It does not refer to the killings of animals in general. This was not a command prohibiting non-sacrificial slaughter or hunting. But the seriousness of the offense can be seen in the phrase "be cut off." So go read chapter 17, verses 1 through 6. They commit an offense. So like if you shed blood, you know, you will be cut off from among your people. And so the seriousness of an offense can be seen in the phrase "be cut off," an expression that always refers to the death penalty when used in the context of punishment. Sometimes I accidentally viewed it as, you know, just casted away, kind of deported out of your country. But the more I learned, the more I figured out that it meant death. Verse 7 through 9 was, you know, you don't want to be cut off. But, and they shall no more offer their sacrifices unto devils, after whom they have gone a whoring. There shall be a statute forever unto them throughout their generations. And thou shalt say unto them, whatsoever man that be of the house of Israel, or of the strangers which sojourn among you, that offereth a burnt offering or sacrifice, and bringeth it not unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, to offer it unto the Lord, even that man shall be cut off from among his people. In their wilderness wandering, the Israelites resorted to worshipping devils, which could refer to demons in the form of goats that haunted the wilderness. Unfaithfulness towards, ooh, that's scary. No, I'm not scared, I got God, but that's why so many people picture demons as ghosts. That makes some sense now, actually. And it's not really scary, but just imagine running around at night and like goat demons. It's a little creepy. I'm not scared because, you know, I got my little buddy right here. He's not little. He's the invisible God, but oh my goodness, I just got pencil sheddings everywhere. You know, that's what I get for calling him little by accident. But sorry, God. See, me and God are good buddies. We're all buddies. You, me, God, all of us, we're buddies. Anyway, so yeah, they worship goat devils pretty much, I guess. But unfaithfulness toward the Lord was often depicted as prostitution. So the reference here does not suggest that the Israelites were worshiping Canaanite fertility gods, which, you know, did happen eventually, like Ashtoreth and Baal and kings and Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Hosea, all that stuff. But God in His grace also included strangers, foreigners who lived among the covenant people. They had to observe the commandment not to worship other gods. The expression burnt offering or the sacrifices is a figure of speech called a merism, and it points to all sacrifices. The law's intent was to ban all sacrifices offered to any god other than Jehovah. Verse 10 says, and whatsoever man there be of the house of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn among you, that eateth any manner of blood, I will even set my face against that soul that eateth blood, and will cut him off from among his people. The prohibition is that stupid word. I had a problem with that word earlier, my goodness. Not this video, but a few videos ago, probably even in Genesis. I remember because I was struggling to say prohibition. 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 Ugh. You know, the act of prohibiting against eating blood pertains to both sacrificial and non-sacrificial animals, and is mentioned in other parts of the Torah. The expression, it was in Genesis. That's exactly, dude. The expression, I will even set my face against, points to God's decision not just to oppose those who disobey the law, but also to destroy those who committed such lawlessness. Verse 11 through 14 says, for the life of the flesh. Oh, it's that good one. It's that good verse, and it even goes on verse 14. For the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it to you upon the altar to make an atonement for your souls. For it is the blood that maketh an atonement for the soul. Therefore I said unto the children of Israel, no soul of you shall eat of blood, neither shall any stranger that sojourneth among you eat of blood. And whatsoever man that be of the children of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn among you, which hunteth and catcheth any beast or fowl that may be eaten, he shall even pour out the blood thereof, and cover it with dust. For it is the life of all flesh, the blood of it is for the life thereof. Therefore I said unto the children of Israel, ye shall eat the blood of no manner of flesh, for the life of all flesh is the blood thereof. Whosoever eateth it shall be cut off. The concept that the life was in the blood goes back to creation, and even to Jesus. Here the Lord gave a rationale for the law, that the blood is the life, and God has designed the blood for atonement. Eating blood would profane something that God had sanctified or set apart for the sanctuary. No, not eating blood was one of the requirements the Jerusalem Council placed on Gentiles. Verse 1 through 3 says, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, I am the Lord your God. After the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do, and after the doings of the land of Canaan, whither I bring you, shall ye not do, neither shall ye walk in their ordinances. Egypt was known for its licentiousness and for condoning intrafamilial family things, family practices such as father, daughter, brother, sister, aunt, intercourse, incest, all that bad stuff, and uncle, nieces, all those marriages, all that bad stuff. But Canaan was identified with homosexuality, which is not good, and also bestiality, which is also not good. 7 times Israel is warned not to behave like those living in Canaan. 6 times the expression, I am the Lord, appears in this chapter as the motive for observing the law. The formula, I am the Lord your God, appears frequently in the context of God redeeming Israel from Egypt. In this context, the formula shows that these statutes were God's commandments and not human conventions. Verses 4 through 5 says, ye shall do my judgments and keep mine ordinances, to walk therein. I am the Lord your God. Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, which if a man do, he shall live in them. I am the Lord. Judgments and ordinances together encompass the whole divine law. The instruction is emphasized by being repeated in the 5th verse. Verse 6 says, none of you shall approach to any that is near of kin to him, to uncover their nakedness. I am the Lord. The expression near of kin, flesh of his flesh, designates all close blood relatives, such as father, mother, brother, sister, son, daughter, and grandchild. Sexual intercourse with any close relative, even those who are not specifically mentioned in the list, is prohibited. We got it! We beat it! But it's not prohibition. It's such a hard word to say. Verse 7 says, the nakedness of thy father with the nakedness of thy mother shall thou not uncover. She is thy mother, thou shalt not cover her nakedness. This prohibit. It's that word again. The act of prohibiting is repeated because of the possibility of double incest, with the father and with the mother. Verse 8 says, the nakedness of thy father's wife shalt thou not uncover, it is thy father's nakedness. Thy father's wife would include a stepmother, or another wife or concubine in a polygamous marriage. Verses 9 through 11 talks about ones with, half-sisters and, sex with half-sisters, daughters, uncles, aunts, and all that. Marriage with one's half-sister was not prohibited before the Mosaic covenant at Sinai. Rather, sister marriages were commonplace in Egypt, Phoenicia, and pre-Islamic Arabia. Heck, Abraham's wife was his half-sister. He even made a half-lie to Abimelech. But verse 12 through 14 says, thou shalt not, but that doesn't make it good, alright? It is bad, you shouldn't do that, but before the Mosaic covenant, it was a common practice. Don't do it though, do not do it now. Verse 12 through 14 says, thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy father's wife, she is thy father's near kinswoman. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy mother's sister, for she is thy mother's near kinswoman. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy father's brother, thou shalt not approach to his wife, she is thine aunt. While sexual intercourse between aunts and nephews was forbidden, unions between uncles and nieces were permitted. But later in Christian communities, marriage between uncles and nieces were forbidden as well, which is good. We need to prohibit that stuff. It's weird. But verse 15, thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy daughter-in-law, she is thy son's wife, thou shalt not uncover her nakedness, means the stupid prohibit word. The act of prohibiting of a sexual relationship with one's daughter-in-law extends to a person who is divorced or widowed, even though this practice was common in the ancient Near East. Verse 16 says, thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy brother's wife, it is thy brother's nakedness. John the Baptist used this law to rebuke Herod for marrying his brother's wife. This law was in effect only if the brother was alive. If the brother died, the law of levirate marriage, which was instituted in Deuteronomy, would go into effect. This is some disgusting, and there's always been disgusting stuff, but the laws are good, but the things are being described in laws which shouldn't have even been done in the first place are just absolutely abominable. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of a woman and her daughter, neither shalt thou take her son's daughter or her daughter's daughter to uncover her nakedness, for they are near kinswoman, it is wickedness. Orgies involving a woman and her daughter were classified as wickedness, a legal term that was also used for incest, rape, and prostitution. Orgies of any type were prohibited and were seen as paganistic, profane acts. Verse 18, neither shalt thou take a wife to her sister to vex her, to uncover her nakedness beside the other in her lifetime. A woman was not to marry two sisters, as in the case of Jacob. A man, well yeah, goes for either way. A woman shouldn't be marrying a woman, and a man shouldn't be marrying two sisters, which, was like Jacob. So as you can see, Jacob and Abraham would have been disobeying these laws if those laws were permitted in those times. But verse 19 says, didn't we read this? No, we didn't read this. Also thou shalt not approach unto a woman to uncover her nakedness, as long as she is put apart for her uncleanness. Refraining from sex during a woman's menstrual uncleanness was meant to keep the other person ceremonially clean. For verse 20, which says, moreover, thou shalt not lie carnally with thy neighbor's wife to defile thyself with her. This act of prohibiting restates the 7th of the 10 Commandments, and it refers to sexual intercourse with a married or engaged person, adultery. Verse 21 says, and thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Molech, neither shalt thou profane the name of thy God, I am the Lord. So, child sacrifice practice as worship of Molech was common among the Canaanites. The name Molech appears 5 times in Leviticus, and refers to the god of the Ammonites. Human sacrifice was practiced in Israel only by corrupt rulers. The literal expression passed through the fire indicates that the child was probably burned to honor Molech in a pagan ritual. This practice was labeled as profane by God. It is very abominable. Do not offer your babies. Verse 22, thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is an abomination. Homosexuality is clearly prohibited throughout the Bible. The Sodomites were destroyed because of their sodomy, and the men of Gibeah were destroyed following the homosexuality rampage. Homosexuality is called an abomination because it is against God's order of creation and against his laws pertaining to the covenant community. The word occurs 116 times in the Old Testament in context addressing idolatry, magic, transvestitism, and defective sacrifice. In verse 23, neither shalt thou lie with any beast to defile thyself therewith, neither shall any woman stand before a beast to lie down thereto. It is confusion. Just like homosexuality, bestiality was prohibited in the Bible under all circumstances. This act was classified as confusion, a violation of the divine order. Verses 24 through 30 describe how Israel should not be defiled. The punishment for these abominations was the death penalty. When the covenant community profaned God's name by following pagan practices, it was not just a mistake, it was a grave iniquity, an abomination, something that defiled the community. The fact that the laws of chapter 18 begin and end with the statement, I am the Lord your God, shows the seriousness of these laws. Chapter 19 goes over all commandments from the Decalogue, which are recited here. Verse 2 says, Speak unto all the congregation of the children of Israel, and say unto them, Ye shall be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy. This is the only time when God tells Moses to speak directly to the whole congregation of Israel. The imperative, be holy, and the reason for the people's holiness, for I, the Lord your God, am holy, are the main message of this chapter, as well as the theme of the entire book of Leviticus. I got hiccups. Verse 3 says, Ye shall fear every man his mother and his father, and keep my Sabbath. I am the Lord your God. The placement of the mother before the father is unusual in the male-oriented Israelite society. I guess we can include that, but verse 9 through 10, And when ye reap the harvest of your land, thou shalt not wholly reap the corners of thy field. Neither shalt thou gather the gleanings of thy harvest, and thou shalt not glean thy vineyard, neither shalt thou gather every grape of thy vineyard. Thou shalt leave them for the poor and stranger. I am the Lord your God. God in his grace made provision for the poor and stranger. Boaz obeyed this commandment when Ruth was allowed to glean after the reapers. Verse 14 says, Thou shalt not curse the deaf, nor put a stumbling block before the blind, but shalt fear thy God. I am the Lord. Boaz, by the way, that's in Ruth. Whenever we get to Ruth, we'll talk about that. Ruth literally asked Boaz to marry her by feet stuff, but like laying at his feet or something like that. But the command against abusing the deaf and the blind can be applied concerning any handicapped or disadvantaged people. The imperative to fear thy God serves as the rationale for the law, because unlike the deaf and the blind, God can see and hear everything. Verse 15, Ye shall do no unrighteousness in judgment. Thou shalt not respect the person of the poor, nor honor the person of the mighty, but in righteousness shalt thou judge thy neighbor. So, the law against unrighteousness judgment is directed not as judges, but as the people in general, since any Israelite could be a juror and stand in judgment of his neighbor. Verse 17 says, Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor, and not suffer sin upon him. One way to show love for a neighbor is to rebuke him when he does wrong. Verse 18 says, Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord. The importance of the command to love thy neighbor as thyself was affirmed by Jesus and the Apostle Paul. It also shows continuity because the Old Testament and the New Testament, between the Old Testament and the New Testament. Verse 20 through 22 says, And whosoever lieth carnally with a woman that is a bondmaid betrothed to an husband, and not at all redeemed, nor freedom given her, she shall be scourged. They shall not be put to death, because she was not free. And he shall bring his trespass offering unto the Lord, unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, even a ram for a trespass offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for him with a ram of the trespass offering before the Lord for his sin which he hath done, and the sin which he hath done shall be forgiven him. So, having sexual intercourse with a woman who is a bondmaid was a sin, and this is why a trespass offering had to be made, though the death penalty was not required. But the man alone was guilty, since the female slave was not required to bring the trespass offering. This law protected vulnerable female slaves who did not have the social power and economic clout that free men. Verse 23 through 25 says, And when ye shall come into the land, and shall have planted all manner of trees for food, And ye shall count the fruit thereof as uncircumcised. 3 years shall it be as uncircumcised unto you, it shall not be eaten of. But in the 4th year all the fruit thereof shall be promised to praise the Lord withal. And in the 5th year shall ye eat of the fruit thereof, and that it may yield unto you the increase thereof. I am the Lord your God. Having sexual intercourse with a woman who is a bondmaid was a sin, and this is why a trespass offering had to be made, though the death penalty was not required. But the man alone was guilty. That's the previous notes. What were you doing? We are reading the wrong notes. Correct notes this time. We were talking about the bondmaid part again. I don't know why. The act of prohibiting from eating the fruit of a newly planted fruit tree may have had to do with the fact that the fruit did not taste good in the fact 3 years, because the first fruits belong to God. The fruit of the first year was holy to God as a praise offering in which the covenant community recognized that God was the only one who gave them the good things the earth produced. Following the law would result in an increase of production. Verse 26. It's a good deal. You shall not eat anything with the blood, neither shall ye use enchantment nor observe times. Enchantment involved trying to determine the future by such devices as casting lots, using arrows, looking at liquids or entrails. Observing times involved interpreting natural phenomena such as clouds or stars, or communicating with the spirits of the dead. Both of these practices were common in the ancient Near East. Actually, we're going to mention Enoch again. In Enoch, the angels, the fallen angels, the watchers who made with the women to make the Nephilim, taught men how to use enchantments and stuff, and interpret time, specifically interpret clouds, the ways of the clouds. Verse 27 says, Ye shall not round the corners of your heads, neither shalt thou mar the corners of thy beard. Now that's actually going to be the last time we mention Enoch for probably a long time. But in Israel, hair was the sign of a person's strength and beauty. The beard was a symbol of manhood. To mar the corners of the beard may have been a pagan practice that Israel was forbidden to emulate. In later Israelite culture, shaving was considered disgraceful. Verse 28 says, Ye shall not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, nor print any marks upon you. I am the Lord. The pagan custom of gashing the flesh as a sign of mourning was prohibited. This is what the pagan priests of Baal did in the contest with Elijah on Mount Carmel, which, I'm so excited to read whenever we get there. But painting one's body, tattoo marks, was also a custom that denoted belonging to a pagan cult, or it was done to ward off spirits of the dead. Verse 31 says, Regard not them that have familiar spirits, neither seek after wizards to be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God. In the ancient Near East, necromancy, or communication with the dead, was sought through mediums or wizards, but God's law ruled against such pagan practice. Verse 35 through 36. Ye shall do no unrighteousness in judgment, in metiod, in a weight or in measure. Just balances, just weights, a just ephah and a just hin shall ye have. I am the Lord your God, which brought you out of the land of Egypt. So, the holiness laws also permeate business dealings. The way a person buys and sells is an indication of his obedience to God. Honesty was a sign of wise living. Chapter 20 just talks about the laws in this chapter were similar to those in chapter 18, except that here the penalties for disobedience are attached to the laws forbidding Molech, worship pagan religious practices and sexual offenses, all that. Verse 2 says, Again, thou shalt say to the children of Israel, whosoever he be of the children of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn in Israel, that giveth any of his seed unto Molech, he shall surely be put to death. The people of the land shall stone him with stones. Death by stoning was also applied to blasphemers, sorcerers, Sabbath violators, idolaters, rebellious children, adulterers, a bride who did not disclose she was not a virgin, a man and a betrothed woman who engaged in consensual sex, and those who did not destroy things that had been placed under a divine ban. Verse 17 through 19 says, And if a man shall take his sister, his father's daughter, or his mother's daughter, and see her nakedness, and she see his nakedness, it is a wicked thing, and they shall be cut off in the sight of their people. He hath uncovered his sister's nakedness, he shall bear his iniquity. And if a man shall lie with a woman, having a sickness, and shall uncover her nakedness, he hath discovered her fountain, and she hath uncovered the fountain of her blood. and both of them shall be cut off from among their people. And thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy mother's sister, nor of thy father's sister, for he uncovereth his near kin, they shall bear the iniquity. The punishment for lesser offenses was being cut off in the sight of their people. In some instances, God himself carried out this punishment, in which he excommunicated the offenders from their relatives. Verse 20 through 21 says, And if a man shall lie with his uncle's wife, he hath uncovered his uncle's nakedness, they shall bear their sin, they shall die childless. And if a man shall take his brother's wife, it is an unclean thing, he hath uncovered his brother's nakedness, they shall bear childless. Lesser violations were punished with childlessness. The presence of children were depicted in the Bible as divine reward. To be barren was regarded as shameful. So, there you go. There's the notes. There's the explanation of all those. But last video for Leviticus tomorrow. And we'll be blowing a shofar tomorrow. It's going to be fun. So, a lot of laws. I really like this section of Leviticus that we went over because it explains some very, very important stuff in my opinion. Some things we don't go by, but a lot of those things, like the sex laws, we do go by still. And we should go by. We shouldn't have incest, we shouldn't have homosexuality, we shouldn't have bestiality, we shouldn't be committing adultery, we shouldn't be, having, premarital sex. We should still obey those laws right there. I mean, we shouldn't kill people for practicing those, but we should definitely do the act of love of rebuking. That's what we should do. We should tell them, hey, buddy. So, you say it in biblical terms. I was saying it in my terms, but if it's biblical terms, go up to them. Don't say, oh, you're going to go to hell. Say, hey, God loves you. He wants you to stop doing this. So let's talk about it. But, prayer. Now, so, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Lord, I thank you for today. I ask that you continue to give us wisdom, because you've given us a lot of wisdom, and I thank you for that. I'm having fun reading a book of law, and it's so crazy. Like, who the heck would think, oh, Leviticus is going to be a fun book to read, but man, it's been, like, probably one of the best books I've read out of the Bible so far. Surprisingly, too, I mean, the first time I read Leviticus, I was exhausted, but ever since you gave me more wisdom, because I keep asking for it, you keep giving it to me, and like you said, if I ask, I shall receive, and you keep giving it to me, and I'm so thankful for it, because, I mean, I don't need it. I mean, I do kind of need it to know what you're talking about, but I don't deserve it, but yet you give it to me, so I thank you for that. But with this wisdom you've given me, reading Leviticus is so much fun, because I'm seeing all these parallels, I'm seeing these things we should still do, and I'm seeing things we shouldn't do still. Like, we don't have to do scapegoats, all that stuff no more. We don't have to stone people, kill people for disobeying certain laws. We don't have to do that stuff no more, but there's stuff in Leviticus we still have to do. But, pretty cool. I'm having fun reading Leviticus. So I thank you for the wisdom. I thank you for the understanding. In Job 28, verse 28, it says, wisdom is to fear God, and to shun evil is understanding. He told us that. You told that to mankind and all people. All people should know that. And so, Lord, I ask that all people can obey you. All people can have understanding. All people can have wisdom. And I'm talking about the biblical sense, not the earthly sense, not the worldly sense. I'm talking about the biblical sense, so we all can have eternal life and salvation through you, because you sacrificed your only Son, because you loved us with your grace, even though we did not deserve any of it. So I thank you. I pray all these things. Amen. See you next time. God bless worldwide. I love you all. Bye.